So the Rabadash studio actually began its life as Balance Studios, correct?
This building,
Okay.
yeah, was built by a guy named Fortman, and their studio was called Balance.
Okay.
And they had it for I think about a year, but they're the ones that really stepped up and hired John Stork to come in and design the studio, and a local contractor built it, who is also a musician.
Mm-hmm.
He took a lot of pride in building this building. It's an amazing, amazing studio.
Yeah.
There were no corners cut anywhere.
And its purpose at the time, was it a recording studio for the public or for one specific artist?
He was a major label producer, and he was working in LA and New York, but he was from here, so he wanted a place to work here. And he still does big bands, but he's living in Florida now.
Mm-hmm.
And he wound up just letting it go. And then a fellow by the name of Jonathan Treby bought it, and he ran it as JT Studio for about I think about 16 or 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he took amazing care of it.
Yeah.
He had a lot of Christian clients, but he was, and I worked with Jonathan back in the 80s, back in the 90s, at studio on Canal Street, at the foot of Canal Street, where the Canal Place Theater is,
mm-hmm.
and all that in that building. And he was the lead engineer, and I was the second engineer. So Jonathan, had this place for all those years, took great care of it, and then he retired and moved down to Florida. And a real estate company bought this place, and they were going to turn it into a warehouse for the lighting place across the street.
Oh, wow.
But the owner, fortunately, had a son who played guitar, and he walked in here and he went, "Wait a minute."
Yeah.
Because they were getting ready to gut it.
Yeah.
And that was the word we all heard, that this was going to be gutted and turned back into a warehouse.
Oh, wow.
So he had the good sense to try to find somebody to rent it, and I was fortunate enough to get it.
Beautiful. That would have been such a loss, huh?
So I have a 15-year option on the building, and I'm very tickled to be working in it because it's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I was going to ask what you were doing at that time, but as it turned out, your paths crossed, you and the previous owner at a certain point. And then did you learn about the availability through him? Or?
No, in fact, he called me when he was selling out, and he asked me if I just wanted to buy it like turnkey with all of his gear still in it. Well, and I was in downtown Covington at the Masons Lodge with our other studio, and I told him, no, we've got a good deal here. Turns out 3 months later, the Masons decided that they were going to turn their place back into a social hall, which is what it was originally. It was a place for them to have their parties and rent it out for weddings and stuff like that. So they decided, after we had been there 7 years, that they wanted to do that.
The cosmos wanted you here, huh? Things kind of aligned.
It absolutely.
That's wonderful for you. I'm happy for you, and I'm happy you got to save this place from becoming a soulless lighting warehouse. That's funny. So the birth of the studio naturally was a next step in the evolution. How did you come into the position of being able to purchase the facility? I guess not to purchase it, but to advance its progression once you were here.
Well, I wouldn't say we advanced it. Yeah. I would say we integrated into it, because the speaker systems you're seeing that are in the wall, that's part of the building. That didn't come out. Those are actually structurally built into the building, so they had to stay here. Now these near fields, we're still experimenting with which set of near fields we got. We've got 3 sets here. There will only be 1 or 2 sets when we finally decide which ones we like. but we brought in our analog console, but all the wiring that goes, that patch bay there, and which all the wires run all through the ceiling and into the other rooms and all that was here when we walked in.
Yeah.
So we just had to interface into it.
Sure.
We didn't run any wires or build any wires or make any cabling. Well, we made a few, but I say it was mostly a matter of integrating, like on Star Trek when they try to integrate technology with the Romulans.
Yeah.
That's how it was for us. I did want to mention my landlord, also a very cool dude, Dennis LaRocca.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, his son was Nick LaRocca. And they're a musical family, historically important in New Orleans, because their uncle recorded the very first jazz record. His name was Nick LaRocca.
Really?
And the original Dixieland Jazz Band in 1917.
Wow.
So his heart's a little bit into our business. Well, it's not. It's actually a lot. He's a lot. He's a great landlord. He comes, checks on us all the time, and he's taken such good care of us. So it's really kind of like you say, the universe just put us all together,
man,
and that's why I think this is going to be there's some big noise coming out of this place.
I'd read on your site that you were in composition, production, performing, things of that nature throughout the years before all of this occurred. You were doing some audio engineering and some performing.
Yeah, I've been doing all of that. In fact, Rabadash Records, my record company, we're going to be celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. So made our first 45 single 40 years ago.
Nice. For some of the people out there, could you name some of the artists that you've worked with over the years?
Anders Osborne, Teresa Anderson, Big Al Carson, Waylon Thibodeau, Big Daddy O, Rockin' Jake, Nora Wickstead, John Magny, who later went on to be with the Subdudes. Mm-hmm. We did his first records. Jeff Spence, Doug Duffy. Right now we're doing, we've got two albums out on Michael O'Hara, the Chic, that are new albums, not old Chic records, but new stuff he's written and produced himself and put out.
Yeah.
And then we're very excited to have an artist. Her name is Sarah B. from Kiln, Mississippi, and we're just finishing up her record right now.
Yeah.
We're expecting big things out of that one.
Yeah, that's beautiful. She was signed to Universal before she came.
And Universal and Sony, yeah. She had some major label deals that, they recorded her, but they never put the stuff out.
Really?
Yeah, that happens a lot with major labels.
Yeah. Wow.
But she actually worked in London with Adele's production team, the last major deal she had.
Beautiful.
Right before she came to us.
Yeah. Well, I bet you're excited about that.
I'm very excited about Sarah. Very excited about Sarah B.
That's wonderful. Being that you were a label before you were a studio, do you feel like it's kind of enabled you to do more for the artist? I guess is a all-encompassing service.
Well, we're absolutely, to a fault, all about the artist.
Yeah.
We spend too much money and too much time making the recordings. We make sure that the artist is really happy with the recordings. We're definitely an artist-run label.
That's great, though. I mean, it really it allows you to do more for them, I would believe. Okay, so I read an article where a national recording artist was recounting his time with a producer by the name of Rick Rubin. And both the artist account and Rick's own account of his methods stressed reduction. And I think this closely parallels what you have said in the past about being more of a photographer than a painter when it comes to sound production. I was hoping that you could touch on the importance of reduction in this process for the audience.
Well, there are producers that artists come to them because they don't necessarily have a sound of their own. They want the producer's sound, and that's not me. So I'm all about, well, what's beautiful and what's great about the artists the way they are, and take that and enhance it, but not change it, not recreate it. I've never heard or used the name reduction,
Right.
but I think I get what you mean, in the fact that, yes, try to keep it as simple as possible, and you capture what's there, you maybe polish off a few of the rough edges, but it's still the artist, what they are when they play live.
Sure.
And that's what I'm all about. Now, I give the artists a lot of freedom if they want to, if they want to run with something like the John Lisi record. He had some ideas in his head that, I would have never thought, because I had seen him live playing with his rock trio, his blues trio, and he's a phenomenal guitar player, and that's what it was all about to me, was his guitar playing, and he's a very quirky songwriter. So to me, that's what the whole thing was about, which we recorded, and we did that. But then he goes, okay, now I want to do some extra painting, on what we've already recorded. But I had never heard that, but it was in his head. So he brought in, saxophone players and harmonica players, and built this whole extra layer of palette around his little rock trio that, I had never heard before. It didn't exist in nature. It only existed in his head.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
That's fantastic.
So in a way, he produced his own record,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
For the Industry Insider series I had mentioned earlier, maybe you could give an idea to aspiring artists that have not yet come to a studio, what you require of them, and what you offer them. I know it's a broad question, but
Well, with there being so much technology available today that you can record in your own home, what we offer is the space, for one thing, the acoustically perfect space, because when you're recording home, you always sound like you're in a box.
you do.
You're always fighting that. But this building was designed to be just perfectly acoustically. So it makes us look like geniuses, because we just put up a microphone and record it, and it sounds amazing. Well, that's because they spent $4 million building this building 20 years ago, and hired an acoustician, John Stork, to design it.
Yeah.
And they followed his designs to a letter. Every single piece of wood, every single piece of fabric, every piece of glass. The walls have 9 layers in them, so when it's raining outside, we don't stop working. You don't hear it, because and as you can see, we have a teacher in there teaching right now, and you don't hear them at all. It's 100% isolation between here and there.
Sure.
So, and the reason you want that as when you're recording is because you want to know what's actually coming out of the speakers is actually what's going down the tape. If you're hearing them in the other room, then that's not what's going down the tape.
Sure.
Tape, I say now, going down to the recorder.
We know, yeah.
Did I answer your question, or did I go off on a tangent?
I guess you started to touch on something that I wanted to get into, actually, because I think these days a distinguishment needs to be made between the home recording artist versus a studio. A lot of people with the technology out there right now might ask themselves, why would I why would I want a studio? And you kind of touched on some of that with the acoustics.
And the other side is the experience with the equipment. You know, how to do it. Just because you, let's say a home studio, the computer system that you would have at home might have 90%, let's say, of the tools that we have here on our computer. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you would think that, well, I can get it 90% as good as I can at the studio in my own home. But it's the years and years and years and years of doing it. You know, we have, you know, a team of engineers here.
Sure.
That, and Mark Hewitt has been, you know, has done platinum records, Grammy-nominated records. He cut his teeth at Alan Toussaint Studios, Sea Saint, you know, back in the 80s. So he's, I mean, it's just, he's our lead engineer. You met Stephen Boy, who is just moved here from Austin, and Steve's our computer guru, and but he's a wonderful audio engineer too. And we work on Pro Tools. We work on the Pro Tools platform, which is kind of the industry standard. But there's many other, they call them DAWs, Digital Audio Workstation, and there are many others that some of them are even free, and they're wonderful.
Sure.
You know, you can do a lot with them at home. But people at home come to us after they've pulled their hair out. I get calls almost every day. Man, I've been working on this thing. I bought all these mics and I bought all this gear and I've been working on this stuff and it just doesn't sound right. You know, can you help me out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we'll try to take what they've already done and fix it if some of what they've done is usable. Mm-hmm. And what I also encourage people to do, if I know they have a home system, I encourage them to, you know, if you want to spend, you know, 3 days singing your vocal over and over and over and over and over again until you get it absolutely perfect, do that at home for free.
Okay.
You know?
Sure.
And then bring it to me, and then we'll plug it into what we did here.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to be paying, you know, our rate to sit there and practice.
Sure.
And that's the other thing I always tell bands. I say, look, make sure before you come in, make sure you really know the song. Make sure that, you know, you got new strings on your guitar and new strings on your bass. Make sure that there's no shorts or anything in your cables, you know, because all of that comes out on the recording, and you know, and just make sure you really know the songs. If you've never been in before. And then if it's like a singer or a songwriter that wants their song recorded, I always encourage them to not like use their buddy that plays drums, or, you know, no, let's use professional studio musicians, because you'll save so much money. Yeah. Because the professional will get it, take one take, maybe second take, and you're done. You know, you bring your friend in that's never been in the studio before, he's gonna. Or even if he plays gigs all the time, you know, and is just not used to being in the studio.
Yeah, that's great. And I wanted to say it on camera, you did say that you had accommodations here too for artists that come in from out of town and need a place to stay for a few days while they work on a project.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we have a shower upstairs, and we have lots of pull-out sofas and lots of pillows and sheets, and you know, it's not the Ritz, but you know, we got the kitchen, got the, you know, we got, so yeah, people can, if they come in from out of town and then are on a budget, we can accommodate them.
Beautiful. All right. Rabadash Studios, y'all. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right.